Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today's Member Connect event. My name is Amanda Corbel, and I'm joined here by Vladimir Popov, and we're going to talk to you today about the FLC's FLAX program, which stands for Federal Lab Education Accelerator. So just a brief outline of what we're going to cover today. We'll give you a brief overview of the program, the problem it's addressing, the current solutions available, our solution to the current problem, how it works, the mutual benefit, some of the prospective partners that we're have worked with or are talking to, and then possible outcomes and results. So as you may be aware, the Federal Lab Consortium is a network of over 300 federal labs, agencies, and research centers that fosters commercialization best practice strategies and opportunities for accelerating federal technologies. So Vladimir is the Mid-Atlantic Regional Coordinator, and Claudia Haywood is the Deputy Regional Coordinator, but I work with both of them at the Frederick National Lab for Cancer Research, so I've been involved in activities related to our region. And this is kind of where this FLEX program was developed out of our region, but we are expanding it to all the regions. So if you're not a part of the Mid-Atlantic region and want to participate, you definitely can. We'd be happy to discuss that. So there's, different agencies among the FLC group, which is really imperative for our FLEX program because we really wanted to create a diverse technology portfolio. So even if your lab is not listed here, you're still welcome to participate. As many labs as we can get, the better. So the problem that FLEX addresses is, when we started talking with the labs in our region, regardless of the size of the tech transfer office or the area of the technologies, we found that the common problem was, that they didn't have the tech transfer offices. They lacked resources for conducting and completing technology assessments. And then kind of the other problem associated with that, more from the university perspective, is that even though FLC business, through that site, federal technologies are accessible to the public, they're not frequently accessed by universities and students. For example, they have no idea that there's, hundreds, thousands of technologies available that they can access for free. So with that in mind, we kind of asked, okay, how do you address this problem? Like, what are your current solutions? And most of the labs we talked to said that they reach out to schools kind of on a one-off basis for partnering, but that can be limiting. And the limits of that could just be that you're only one lab, and most labs are kind of focused in one technology area, such as life science or maybe defense technology. So if the students don't have a background or a good understanding or maybe interest in that area, that's not always the best partnership. And also, we found that there was a lot of like logistical complaints from the labs in terms of, it's a lot for them. If it's only an office of one person, or even for larger offices, they don't have the time to kind of carry out the logistical challenges or just processes that come with these kind of partnerships. So that was kind of another thing, that the partnerships kind of just faded out over time for kind of various reasons that I just discussed. So kind of with this all in mind, we developed the FLEX program, which, as I mentioned, stands for Federal Lab Education Accelerator. And really with that, we're focused on connecting federal labs with MBA students. And you may ask, why MBA students? And that was just kind of where we wanted to start. But we do plan on expanding this to incubators and accelerators. But the MBA students were just kind of a good starting point that we kind of used as a proof of concept. So how this works is we reached out to a variety of federal labs and then also a variety of MBA programs. And as I mentioned earlier, we wanted to create a very diverse portfolio. So there's a heterogeneity of students among these various MBA programs, but then also a heterogeneity of the technology to allow for better match projects. So if you have MBA students at one school that have maybe more of a life science interest, they're going to be better suited for life science technologies, whereas another school may have, a lot of engineering students, so they're going to gravitate towards more technologies that match their expertise. And then, as I mentioned, one of the problems was kind of like the logistical success. So with our Flex program, through FLC and ourselves, we're kind of offering this program management just to kind of help with logistical success, whether it be kind of making sure, students are emailing the, right person, or that the labs are, responding, or if they can't get in touch with the student, there's somebody there to kind of help foster that communication. So with that, I'm going to transfer it over to Vladimir, who's going to next cover how our program works.
Thank you, Amanda, and welcome everyone to our webinar. My name is Vladimir Popov. I'm a regional coordinator for Mid-Atlantic region, but I'm also Director of Partnership Development Office at the Frederick National Lab for Cancer Research. So Amanda's given a great overview of kind of why we created the Flex program and what it addresses. And as you can tell, it addresses some of the needs that we have identified in the current solution. But how does a Flex program work once we identify which labs want to participate and which schools would like to participate? Well, the labs give us their promising technologies, as we call them, and these are mature technologies that kind of fit the bill for a good assessment. And these technologies, as mentioned, are all stored in one document or on one page where students can go in and select the technology for the assessment based on their interest and their expertise. This is the first part where there is a selection of technology. Once this is selected and students are paired with either tech transfer managers or inventors in some of the cases, we go into the semester where the students do this assessment. And assessments vary depending on the school that we work with. So some of the schools really go into the kind of wholesome I-Core type of an approach, where they will look at anything from IP portfolio through market assessment to customer discovery to pricing and competitive landscape and so on. Some classes will focus more on one part of this assessment, for example, marketing or competitive landscape. So we didn't ask participating schools to change their syllabus. We kind of rolled with it, hoping that any part of this assessment process will benefit the lab. And during these assessments, obviously the students are welcome and encouraged to meet with the tech transfer managers. And we've had, as mentioned before, we just completed our pilot program where we worked with students from Cornell and students from UMD. And I will cover that in a separate slide, but you could definitely tell that the students who took an advantage of meeting with experts did a much better job in completing the assessments. Finally, as in every class in every school, there is a presentation. This is a deliverable. They also vary. Sometimes these are PowerPoint presentations, sometimes they're in-person pitches. Some classes have a couple of pages of paper that is a deliverable. Again, we didn't ask for the classes or for the professors to change their syllabus, so the deliverables might differ between the schools. However, they will be relevant to your technology, and hopefully the labs will find them beneficial. So next slide, please. And like I said, there is a very important aspect to this, that there is a mutual benefit, and we have looked at what has been done before, and we try to improve this and to increase the benefits. So for the labs, this is the access to tech analysis and long-term networking with relevant stakeholders. What does this mean? Like Amanda mentioned, some of the tech transfer offices within Federal Labs are really understaffed, and even if they're not understaffed, they cannot spend so many hours and in-depth analysis for all of their technologies. So having young, bright, aspiring entrepreneurs and analyzing and giving them feedback is very, very beneficial. But not only that, that is a short-term benefit. The long-term benefit for this is actually building a long-term relationship with relevant stakeholders. And we mean this because labs will develop long-term relationship with certain schools, with certain programs, and of course with individuals who participated in this program. And we're talking about business students who are interested in entrepreneurship, who are interested in technology assessment and technology licensing. So these could be the next licensees for these technologies. The benefits for the programs, such as MBA programs, are the direct access to diverse federal lab portfolios. A lot of MBA programs don't know that there is 300 plus federal labs in the US. All of these labs are funded by federal dollars, taxpayer dollars, and bringing the awareness that there is a lot of cool research happening and that there is a lot of relevant research happening is definitely a benefit. But not only that, but through this program, we are standardizing and making it much easier for schools to access these labs. So this is the important part, where you do have 300 plus labs in the US, but they're all different, and trying to figure out how to access every one of them might be hard for one school or a student. And this is why we are here. This is why Federal Lab Consortium is here, to be the bridge between the federal labs and the outside world, in this case MBA programs. And finally, by us approaching very different labs to participate in this program, I'm going to cover which labs those are, we are creating this very, very heterogeneous portfolio. And this is important, as Amanda alluded, because we want students to have choice, to select something that excites them, to select something they're comfortable with, and to select something that they're willing to put in, tens and tens of hours of work during a semester. So we want all of this work to mean something and to result in a good deliverable. Can I have a next slide, please? So speaking of heterogeneous portfolio, these are some of the labs that participated in the pilot program that just ended now. And as you can tell, we have Department of Energy, Health and Human Services, Department of Commerce, Defense. We have some new labs, such as Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA labs, that just launched their federal labs a couple of years ago. We have EPA, NSA, and again, National Accelerator Lab, and then National Institute of Environmental Health and Sciences. On the school part, we participated, we had 4 schools actively participate in this pilot program, and these are Cornell University, Carnegie Mellon, University of Maryland, and Johns Hopkins. Can I have a next slide, please? I mentioned briefly a success story from the pilot program, and this was a University of Maryland and the CIA lab collaboration. So we had the CIA labs which are interested in early stage technologies, them being a very new federal lab. They wanted to look at a electric vehicle EV battery supply chain. They wanted to look at quantum computing and safe cities. As they further developed their technologies, they were looking to understand the domestic and the global market. Which are the players? How does the market change? What is the short and long-term projection for the market? And on the other hand, the UMD MBA students, this was the capstone project for them, and they were really interested in these ideas, and they worked directly with the CIA researchers, which are the experts in these fields for sure. And they provided the industry and competitor analysis and recommendations. And both Amanda and I were there in person for the final presentations, and I can honestly tell that this was a true enjoyment to listen and to see how students not only did a great job on analyzing all these topics and providing a good assessment, but also the relationship that is developed between the students and the researchers, and coming from both sides, that they are definitely interested in working long term and developing this relationship, which, like I said, is definitely one of the long term benefits from the Flex program. Can I have a next slide, please? So I already mentioned some of these possible outcomes from the Flex program. They go from a simple one where the lab would provide a technology that they have available for further development, that they have available for licensing, and they would receive a full market assessment. And based on that, they could target their licensees, they could target their potential partners and collaborators, and basically use the information they have received from the Flex program. Better scenario would be that actually some of these students who end up, like I said, put in tens or hundreds of hours into assessing these technologies, develop a keen interest in this specific technology and decide to license technology and start a company. This is not unheard of. There are a few labs that, like we said, had a one-off relationships with universities and done this and ended up licensing technologies. So you end up with a startup company based on this. And like I said, I think the long-term relationship and the long-term benefit from this is this collaborative status between the labs and the future entrepreneurs, and not only individual students, but as well the professors and institutions. Next slide. And in summary, Flex summary, and we like to put this slide to say what Flex is and what it is not. So it's an additional resource for universities. We don't ask universities not to use any other portfolios or sources of technologies. This is just an additional resource, bringing a select and kind of a cream of the crop technologies from select labs for them to consider offering to their students. This brings us to the second bullet point. It's not an exclusive relationship. They can work with anybody they would like to and include Flex into their portfolio. Participation is free for both universities and labs. There is no sign-up fee. There is no participation fee, membership, or anything else. This is done by us as part of the Federal Lab Consortium, and we saw a need in the market, and we try to create this program to be mutually beneficial for both labs and universities. Commitment to participate, it doesn't require students to only select federal technologies, of course. Like I said, they're more than welcome to select any other technologies. This is, again, an additional resource. It's not an exclusive program. I covered that. It's not a curriculum changing program. We don't ask universities to change their curriculums, to change their syllabus. They already have set syllabus. Those classes are working. We are merely asking or suggesting for them to consider portfolio from Federal Labs. And finally, this is not exclusive to MBA programs. We started a Flex program because of our personal experience, and because this was a need. This was a first identified need within the MBA programs that offer entrepreneurial classes. We see a good and bright future for a Flex program. This can be offered to undergraduate students. It could be offered to other programs such as accelerators, such as I-Corps programs, such as just different competitive pitch programs. Basically, once you have this super portfolio, as we call it, it can be utilized in many different ways. Next slide. And what are the next steps? Like I said, we have successfully completed our pilot program. We've put a lot of work into creating a pilot program, into getting labs on board, into getting students and programs on board. We are ready to expand this to make it a national program. So June 6th is when Flex participants will receive and review guidelines. Like I said, there is no commitment to this program. We distribute the guidelines, which pretty much tell folks how to play well in the sandbox. June 27th is when the labs and universities notify Flex of their commitment to participate in a full 22. July 11th is when the labs provide technologies to be included in the Flex portfolio. And July 18th is when Flex Portfolio will be made available to participating universities. Just a little note, we are still doing some of the things semi-manually. So we receive these technologies, we're converting them all into the readable, same format, one-page summaries to make it easy for folks to browse through the whole portfolio. The ultimate idea for this is to be stored and housed at the FLC business. And basically the students it will be a search engine with many more technologies than what's being offered through Flex, because FLC Business is available to all of the federal labs, but there will be a search criteria that can be selected where potential students or Flex participants for this matter can select only the labs and only technologies that are meant for the Flex portfolio. Next slide. And yes, that's it. If you have any questions that you think of later, you are welcome to email us. We have our nice little Flex email address. Of course, you're more than welcome to email either Amanda or myself directly. At this point, we're happy to take any questions.
Yes, Vladimir, I had a few questions come in, and the first one, I would like to say, first of all, thank you to both you and Amanda. This sounds like a fabulous program. It's up and running, and I think that the pilot program was very successful as well. One question they have is that how does someone submit their technology?
So Amanda, would you like to take this one, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I can take it. So as Vladimir kind of mentioned, right now it's more of a manual process. So that's really just by emailing us, or we developed a form through Google Sheets, but we quickly learned that not all federal labs can access a Google Sheet document. So we've kind of converted that into more of a fillable PDF. And the reason for that is initially for the pilot, we just had labs kind of send us their abstract, but we found that that information was kind of hard for the students to digest as it was because it was more technical. So we're kind of working on converting the technologies that I've already submitted into these one-page summaries. So if you've already submitted your technologies, you don't have to resubmit. But for any new technologies, the things that we would like you to include is, what problem is your technology addressing? How is this a solution? What are potential applications? Just kind of more broad areas with kind of a few brief sentences, because we find that that's easier for the students to kind of look at initially when they're like selecting the technology that they want to work with. They'll obviously do a deeper dive into that technology, but that's just kind of at first glance. So if anybody's interested in submitting technologies, we can provide you with that document.
Okay, great. And another question came in, says, do you have tech areas you're soliciting for the next cohort?
Well, we really don't, and I think that's the beauty of that's one of the things that we were trying to address by opening it up to all of the tech areas. So whichever technologies you have, you're welcome to submit them. We tried to group them, kind of a rough grouping, into probably 7 or 8 categories, whether it's life sciences or it's engineering or it's AI or something like that, but we don't have limitations where the techs are coming from. The more the merrier, to be honest, because then students will really have a choice of many different areas to choose from.
Okay, and what do labs need to do to commit by the June 27th deadline by submitting a technology?
Yeah, I can take that question. So the timeline, I'll say, we're trying to stick to that timeline, but there is some flexibility. We just kind of want to aim for those dates just because the schools need enough time to we found that a lot of the professors want to review the portfolio ahead of time and kind of start seeing what technologies their students might be interested in ahead of the semester, so that when the semester starts, they can get up and running. But really the initial is just kind of we'll send you the guidelines, which again, we don't have an agreement for you to sign with so many labs and schools participating. Finding one agreement that met everybody's needs would just take too long. So we just kind of have these guidelines that just basically explain the program, and by participating, kind of what you're going to be doing. You know, again, you're sharing your technology, you're answering the students' emails and questions, those sorts of things. So it's really just kind of an acknowledgement, like, yeah, I read them and I want to participate, is kind of the initial first step. And then after that, it's just sending us technologies that you want to include. So there's no kind of formal, you know, signed dotted line. It's more of kind of a verbal or written acknowledgement that you want to participate, and then you'll submit your technologies. And then once you've submitted your technologies and the semester has started, the students then will select which technologies they want to use. And in terms of when you'll be notified, you know, a lot of the semesters start on different dates, as well as there's kind of full semester courses or like 7-week courses. So depending on that, your start date could vary. So that's just kind of another thing to keep in mind. But most schools start roughly, you know, around the September, beginning of September, end of August timeframe. So that's kind of where the schedule was developed from.
Okay, and what TRL or IP status of technologies are eligible?
So if you have asked us this months ago, we would have probably give you a much more kind of accurate answer to this. With the way we envisioned it was that, you know, it would have to be a commercialization ready status, right? So whatever that means, and or kind of a mature technology if they've seen it. But to be honest, we have grown and we've learned by just setting up this program that it doesn't have to be that. And taking, for example, the CIA labs, they really didn't have any technologies that were in their portfolio where they had, you know, a specific patent in a provisional stage, or they had areas of research and areas of expertise and areas of interest, and it worked out perfectly fine. So even if you have that, it works well. If you have a technology that I like to call a mature one, where it's, you know, ready for licensing, where it's ready probably for pushing into kind of commercialization, and to then that can definitely fit most of the programs. But some of these MBA programs are actually interested in kind of more open-ended or more open areas or fields of research where they can do like I said, either market assessment, or they can do competitive landscapes.
Great. That's all the questions that we have in from the audience. You have about a minute left. If there's something else that you wanted to, you know, relay to the audience, that would be great. And if not, then we can wrap up, but I'm going to leave that up to you.
Thank you, Beth. Nothing major for me. I just wanted to thank everyone who attended the webinar. And like I said, we're very excited to grow this program. We have completed this this pilot part of it, and it's shown to work really well. But we're also welcome to any suggestions or any changes. We're always flexible, right? So thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, no, I would agree with everything that you said. And, you know, if anybody wants to kind of learn more or maybe hear about in more detail about the past projects, we're happy to set up a meeting and kind of further go through how those projects went.
Excellent. And thank you to both of you. And just for the audience, I want to let you know that this recording will be posted on our Federal Labs page under the Member Connect. And you can, you know, reach out and view that. If you need a copy of the slides, we'd be happy to do that as well. I'd like to thank everybody for today.